Okay then guys, today we're making a pound cake. And the pound cake got its name because it used to use in the old days 1 pound of sugar, 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of eggs and 1 pound of flour. But as long as you use everything in the same proportion, as in 1:1:1 ratio, 1:1:1:1 ratio, it's still a pound cake. What I'm using today is 250 grams, so it's 250 grams of cake flour, 250 grams of butter unsalted, 250 grams of granulated sugar, and about 250 grams of eggs, 3 whole and 3 yolk. Also half a tablespoon of vanilla essence, half a tablespoon of water, and half a teaspoon of salt. Now you'll notice that the 1:1:1:1:1, gotta get this right. You'll notice that the 1:1:1:1 ratio is the same as a sponge. But with a sponge you use self-raising flour. And self-raising flour has got sodium bicarb baking powder in it. And it uses that as the leavening agent to raise the dough, raise the mix, raise the batter when you're cooking. This hasn't any of that. This is going to rely solely on air being entrapped between the butter and the sugar. And that's called physical leavening. Now, traditional pound cake would use just eggs, whole eggs only. The trouble with whole eggs only is when you're beating and when you're mixing, you can start to create a bit of a meringue and you entrap air the wrong way. We want the air being between the butter and the sugar. And the one last little thing before we get started, oven temperature is critical. Not critical, it's important. It needs to be a moderate oven, so I'm using 175 degrees. Too hot and the cake will set too quickly and it won't rise properly, and too cold and it just won't rise or it will collapse. So everything's at room temperature. Get everything ready for this cake before you start because it's going to be quite quick. And I've even greased and lined the cake tin as well. About, what's it, 200 by 100, 8 by 4 cake tin. So, shall we get on, eh? Start mixing. Oh yeah, first up.
Hi, this is Sky. I'm helping Grumpy out today. So basically, we're putting the eggs together with some water, vanilla, and we're going to mix it up. So we're mixing it now.
Well, there you are, a guest appearance from my granddaughter Sky, 11th birthday yesterday. She just popped in to say thank you for her present. And like Sky said, all we're doing is just mixing the liquids together, really. Okay, stand mixer with a paddle blade on it. I think I'll tell you what, I wouldn't fancy doing this without a stand mixer. To do that amount of butter by hand to a creamy consistency. Mind you, they used to do it, obviously, because it's an old recipe. So all we're doing is getting the mixer going and, well, I say creaming it, fluffing the butter up a little bit. Should take about 2 minutes. And here we go with a close-up. You'll find a few of these in this video. That's getting pretty close now, light and fluffy. And when it is light and fluffy, it's time to start adding the granulated sugar. Now, like I said, we're using granulated because it's got bigger grains and it helps entrap the air into the butter. Just add the sugar a little bit at a time. When it's incorporated, add a bit more. It should take a couple of minutes to get the sugar in, and when it's all in, you want to carry on beating it for about 5 minutes. And after the 5 minutes, it will look something like this. Light and fluffy and very, very pale lemony colour. So almost white, really. Turn the speed then on the mixer and start putting the egg in. About a tablespoon at a time. This is where I realised I'm going to make a mess, so I put a tea towel down. Yeah, tablespoon at a time, and when it's incorporated, add a bit more. Don't rush this, you don't want to break the emulsion. just a drop at a time. It will start looking something like a sponge mix, even though it's technically not a sponge. In with the half a teaspoon of salt. Just scatter it in a little bit at a time. I don't want to get it all in one place, see? You want to get your oven preheating to 180 about now. Then carry on with the egg, a little bit at a time. And eventually it will look like this. Scrape off the paddle and get ready to start adding or start folding in the flour. Add a little bit of the flour at a time and just gently fold it in. And when you can see no flour, it's time to add the next lot. Nice and gentle. You're trying not to beat the air out of the mix. Despite me speeding this up, it looks a bit violent, but it's not. Right, the oven's up to temperature now, 180 degrees. Time to scoop this out into the tin. And once it's all in, push it into the corners and level the top off. Don't overwork the batter. You're trying not to knock the air out. You've got all that trouble to put it in there, and there's no chemical assistance once it's in the oven, mind. It's just air and steam. Right, in the oven, 50 to 60 minutes, 180 degrees. Here we go. I split the difference and did 55 minutes after all that. Looks okay, but I need to test it with a skewer. So we push a wooden skewer this time, has to be wooden, into the centre of the cake, and it needs to come out slightly sticky because it will carry on cooking just that little bit. Maybe a little bit longer, I reckon, maybe. No, that'll do, I'll do. Cool. So when you're happy, it's time to get the cake out of the tin, and this needs to come out as soon as possible. It needs to cool down on the rack, not in the tin. You do not want a soggy bottom on this cake. Then just leave it on the rack. Don't play with it, don't touch it. It needs to cool down. The insides need to firm up a little bit. Right, that's cooled down enough now, guys. Let's get a chopping board. Let's see what we got, eh? Right. That's flat, isn't it? Right, let's give it a go. Okay. Ooh, looks good. Saving the crusty bit to put back on. Stop it going, well, not stale, but stop it going off. Oh, look at that. That looks good. Yeah, nice looking bit of cake, that. Give it a go. Yeah. Excuse me talking my mouth full, but that's like, it's a sponge, but it's denser than a sponge, you know what I mean? That is very, very nice. I'm liking that. Oh, what do you reckon? Right, cut the grass, we'll eat it all. Oh. And this will easily keep for a week at room temperature, wrapped in cling film. That's why I'm doing it now. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did.